It's such an honor to meet you, to be here talking with you. We saw the movie last night. It was fantastic, great performances, great atmosphere. So this is a very tense, complex story about power dynamics, abuse. But was there something in specific on the script that made you say, "I have to take this project"?
What it was, to be honest, the thing that made me, I mean, look, I was so captivated by it. I was so aroused by its complexity, its subtext. But really, Vladimir, when I read that scene of Natalie's final letter, the letter from Gracie that she recites, kind of at the point of her fully becoming or interpreting Gracie and possessing Gracie, you know, as an actor, I thought of a scene from Bergman's film Winter Light, where Ingrid Thulin, the actress, delivers a letter to the priest character, an unrequited love letter, and it's shot like this in May December, in a simple medium shot where she looks directly to the lens of the camera. And when I saw that film when I was in high school, I was so blown away by the power of that choice, and of course of the performance of the actress. And I just thought, so I sort of thought, let's use that idea of looking into the lens as the mirror, and let's build on that as a language through the film. So a lot of the choices that I made came out of that first instinct that I had to do this movie, if only to shoot that one scene in this fashion, in this style.
And mirrors play a very big part of what the movie is, of what the message that it is trying to be shown on screen. Right? How was it to work, if I'm correct, for the first time with Natalie Portman, and to pair her up with your longtime associate Julianne Moore?
Yeah, it was so easy to work with Natalie in ways that reminded me of Julianne, where they're so. I mean, Natalie and I had spent a lot of time talking and sharing notes and giving notes to Sammy and moving. So there were revisions of the script that moved it closer to what we were looking for, and then we changed the setting from Camden, Maine, where it was originally scripted as being set, to Savannah, Georgia, and this was a practical choice, but also one that I think gave the film a whole other layer of meaning and sense of place. But by the time we were on set, like Julianne, all the work, all the preparation is done. You know, she really, and I think the environment of my crew and our urgent little schedule that had to accomplish this film very quickly, I think made everybody feel that we were all part of the same movie. And I think that made Natalie feel extremely comfortable. But she was just an incredible pleasure to work with. And the two of them got along so well. And you know, and they really, truly liked each other. And of course, respected each other. But I think they just really enjoyed being around each other.
Of course. And at one point, did you look up to the real criminal case that takes inspiration the script? And how did it affect the final movie, the final script?
You know, it was something that was useful in the discussion process, mostly between Julianne and myself, and it was something that because we took Sammy's premise as a fiction. Obviously a fiction informed by the cultural language of tabloid, the industry of tabloid storytelling, and how much that surrounds us. But but the story has important differences from the Mary Kay Letourneau story, for instance. But in terms of understanding what motivated and how they made sense of this relationship, the two, Joe and Gracie, looking into the research around Mary Kay Letourneau was helpful. It provided various examples to us of how a woman could justify this to herself. And so that provided a subtext that was useful. And some specific choices came out of that, although they look very differently. Mary Kay Letourneau didn't really dress in like feminine, girly clothes. And she didn't kind of evoke a childlike woman the way Julianne Moore does as Gracie. But some of the roots of that were inspired by, were motivated by things about her.
Of course, about the real life. No, she takes inspiration from the writer took inspiration. Getting back to the theme of actors, well, a very big part of the movie is acting, and we have Natalie Portman's character Elizabeth not only wanting to meet Gracie, but she wants to understand her, and at one point, all is leading to that she wants to become her. So that's a real thing that actors do sometimes. Some actors do this kind of stuff. What's your opinion on the extreme methods to convey a performance?
I think the film takes obvious sort of pokes at the presumptions around some methods of acting and presumptions that we all have as filmmakers, storytellers, of telling the truth, of finding the truth and providing a kind of objective truth to our audiences. I think the film is questioning all of that in its tone. I think we see that there's a lot of, the film begins with moral questions about this kind of relationship and that started all of this, but it ends up with moral questions about storytelling itself and questions about the morality of storytelling. And I would say that's not just about stories about real people, but I would say there's questions about morality in storytelling, period, and the ways that the messages that we convey in our storytelling either support the society or challenge or question the society. And I've found that to always be a motivating curiosity that in my filmmaking, that I like stories that actually make you question our moral allegiance to our society or the ways stories condone social systems. I feel like this film did that in really interesting ways, and also with a great deal of humor.
Absolutely. And just to wrap things up, the other big topic is, of course, abuse, power dynamics that are maintained even when this boy is an adult. And we can see that in the atmosphere, in the powerful performance by Charles Melton. Do you think the movie can start the conversation about these issues that are maybe not so much talked when it comes to male victims?
I do. I've actually heard from a variety of male friends and colleagues who have conveyed stories about their own lives that for some of them they've pushed them aside and tried not to think about them, and they felt like this film has opened up some of those questions. And so that's something like you don't necessarily expect or know how that is going to happen. I think you watch, the only real place that there's sort of hope in this film is around the character of Joe. And even with the collateral damage of Elizabeth coming in and telling her story and bulldozing her way in and using him and then discarding him, that is also how he's able to look at his own story through a kind of new frame and maybe derive different deductions and you know, things that he's learned about it. So it's very complicated because, you know, we don't like seeing Elizabeth being so callous toward him, but at the same time, that's the way in which he gains knowledge.
Of course. Well, they're telling me that our time is already up. That was very, very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to talk to you again. We can meet again in the future. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much.
A real honor.
Thank you. Thanks, Vladimir.